Good evening. I'm finally getting to come to you with a daily devotion. Been trying to do it for some time, been interrupted by one of or several of the grandchildren or phone calls or whatever else comes. I am on grandpa duty, but I've stolen away just a little bit. They were playing outside behind me, and now they've gone in for some baths. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time with you. If you would spend some time with me in 1 John chapter 3, verses 11 through 24 on today's Tuesday's daily devotion. And I just want to I just want to select the end of verse 12 and into verse 13. It talks about Cain killing Abel and equates Cain to the world and Abel to Christians, and then makes this very broad and determined statement that the world hates Christians because we do what is righteous and they do not do what is righteous. So in verse 12, and why did Cain kill him? Because Cain had been doing what was evil and his brother Abel had been doing what was righteous. So don't be surprised, dear brothers and sisters, if the world hates you. And it will. John records that Jesus talked about this, that the more we are like him, the more the world will be aggressively against us. And we know why. I mean, this world created beautifully by God was corrupted from the fall and the introduction of sin, which corrupts and perverts everything in this world. That's why he's going to recreate a new heaven and new earth where we will live with him for eternity, those who are recreated in his image. These last statements are linked together. Why does the world hate believers? Because they're from the evil one, and they do what is unrighteous or evil or wicked rather than righteous. The world hates Christians like Cain hated Abel, and strikes out against us because, again, we are doing what is righteous and they are doing what is not righteous. So sometimes, I'm sure you've heard the statement, the best defense is a good offense, and that's really what's going on with the world. Jesus said, if they hated me, they'll hate you too. And much is motivated that way. I think it's because the world, people of the world know that they cannot do enough right to make themselves right. There's always this sense of being at odds with the maker, the creator, no matter how they identify him, and that no amount of good deeds can change that relationship for them. And again, John's been pretty forthright about this in identifying the fact that what we do doesn't make us who we are. Who we are makes us what we do. So when you're born again of God's righteousness, then you become righteous and you do what is righteous from a new heart and a new desire within that new heart. I want you to think deeply with me about what could be the motive for the world attacking Christians. What is it that they're sensing? What is it that they're trying to achieve or trying to get by? And I think you'll probably agree, I go almost immediately to jealousy or envy. Maybe it's fear. It's most assuredly insecurity, again, from their inability to change themselves, to make themselves right. But what's interesting to me is that you and I are often motivated by the very same things. Now, we are not of the evil one anymore. If we've been born again by God's Spirit, then we are as righteous as he is. We are sharers of the divine nature, though we don't necessarily experience that or express that divine nature perfectly, of course, but more and more progressively. Yet, we're coming out of our brokenness. We're coming out of our sinful nature. That's been converted, and yet we still have patterns of living selfishly rather than selflessly. And sometimes those patterns get in the way of the way we view other people, even Christians. And so sometimes, motivated by the same jealousy or the same envy as the world, we attack our brothers and sisters because they're doing what is right. And by them doing what is right, they're shedding light on the fact that we feel that they're shedding light on the fact that we are not doing what is right. You know, the prime example of this probably comes out of a lady at my old church who was zealous, absolutely zealous for Christ and for witnessing and evangelizing other people. Christ was the first thing on her mind, and the first word out of her mouth, and she would witness endlessly with people, with just those that she met in the park, those she met on a walk, those she was in the grocery store with. Again, it was the most beautiful and revelatory experience that I've ever seen. But I was not unaware that behind her back, almost every other member of the church was criticizing her and defaming her and discrediting her as if she were doing the wrong thing. And they would say things like, people that are conversing with her are just praying to receive Jesus to get her to shut up, or maybe the fact that we never see the people that she's converted, though she tells us about these experiences, we never see them at discipleship. She's not creating disciples. And they would, again, it was so clear, so evident to me that even members of the church, other Christians, would criticize her because, in my opinion, they were jealous about the fact she was doing what is right. She was motivated by God's Spirit to share life with them in the name of Jesus, while all of her criticizers, all of her accusers, were not sharing freely and knew that they weren't. I could never get any of them to admit that, but the fact of the matter is I'm pretty sure about that, and maybe that strikes a chord for you. It certainly did for me. Jealousy, envy, insecurity, hiding, we're still unfortunately affected by all those things as we come out of our brokenness and into our righteousness. But the fact is that we don't need to be criticizing other Christians for doing what is right. We need to be applauding them. We need to be cheering them on. We need to be joining in their chorus and gaining strength from their wake. And we need to be doing what it is that they also are doing, not in competition, but because we know deep down, we know that the seeds of jealousy are only there because we are not acting in righteousness and acting as giving God the freedom to use us in the same way that He is obviously using others. Well, I would say, again, let's begin to root for our brothers and sisters. Let's begin to get in with them and to encourage them and to let them know how much what they're doing, the righteous acts that they're doing, display Christ. Let us connect with Him and encourage us to do the right thing as well. I bet you can find somebody, some Christian in your life this week who not only would benefit from being encouraged by you citing their righteous acts, but also help them to know that the connection they're making with Christ in the righteousness that they're doing is clear and evident and will give them great confidence at His return. God bless you today.